Welcome to the PLMA Live monthly interview. I'm your host, Tim Simmons. All of us have been trying to understand what's been happening to consumers during this pandemic. David Donnan, a retired partner at A.T. Kearney, and now an investor and a mentor to food startups, says that consumer attitudes have really changed and the impact will be felt in the years to come. Dave, welcome to the PLMA Live monthly interview.
Thank you for having me, Tim. It's a pleasure being here with you.
First, let's take a look back at what's happened since the pandemic began. Now, you said recently that the shift in consumer attitudes has followed a classic psychological pattern.
Our experience in this pandemic is like any experience we may have with loss or grief. In fact, several decades ago, a Swiss-American psychiatrist, Elizabeth Kubler-Ross, created what was called the 5 stages of grief. The first stage is the shock and denial, basically us saying, this can't be happening to me. And it manifested ourselves with consumers of basically saying, well, this will go away, this will blow over soon, back in March. And we all went out and just maybe stocked up a little bit, got a bit extra for the pantry, but really thought that this would be something that just come and go.
Was the next stage much different?
Yes, the next stage is anger, where we said, why is this happening to me? And we got angry about all of the events that were occurring with closing down of restaurants and shutting and work in place and stay at home. And this is where we got into hoarding. We went out and said, well, this is obviously an emergency. And we went out and bought lots of toilet paper and lots of soap and lots of sanitizers and basically stripped down the shelves of many of the grocery stores as we were angry about this and trying to get prepared for what we saw as a disruption in our lives.
What came after this?
The next stage is bargaining. And bargaining for us was all around trying to come to terms with what was happening and saying, well, maybe if I did things a bit differently, I could get through this. For many of us, that was a reliance on comfort foods. We went back to food that was not necessarily healthy, but made us feel better. So we had much more pasta, more bread, things that in many cases we were avoiding, but now we're trying to buy more of, and more stable food, more canned products, more packaged products, more frozen products, as we were bargaining to try to make sure that we got through this okay, and we tried to reduce the stress of the pandemic and make our lives a bit more tolerable.
Well, what happened after we ate all that bread and pasta?
The 4th stage is depression, and we're starting to enter this right now as we realize that the pandemic has not gone away, that we've been working in place and avoiding social contact for many, many months. And now we're also looming of job losses and unemployment and people really worried about, where's the next stage going to be? And so this depression is also seeing itself in how we're looking at eating and buying our foods. We're again looking at our budgets and making sure that we're spending money the right way and stretching our food dollar, because we don't know how long this is going to continue to last. And particularly if I've either been my job eliminated or my job's at risk, I've got to really look at spending within a budget.
Dave, what's the final stage?
Finally, acceptance. I mean, we're not there yet. This is when we realize that we have actually changed the way we are living, that we're going to be more used to eating at home, that we're not going to be getting involved in large social activities as much anymore. And acceptance is also meaning that we're going to start to look at how to eat healthier. A lot of us talk about the COVID-19, the 19 pounds we put on because we were eating comfort foods. And now health and nutrition are going to start to come back into play as we start to look at, what am I eating? How do I eat healthier? I'm not getting the exercise I usually get. I'm not getting the activity I used to get. How do I eat healthier so that I don't get sick? I've got to protect myself and protect how I'm living and how I'm eating.
So you think consumer priorities will be changing?
One of the big things consumers are changing, again, is looking at how nutrition and how food impacts their health, and particularly around immunity. We realize that underlying conditions like obesity, hypertension, and diabetes are more susceptible to COVID and getting worse conditions from COVID pandemic. And so these are all nutritional based. Obesity, hypertension, diabetes are all are all types of conditions that are based on what we eat and the nutrition we eat. So people are starting to look at, and you're seeing it in some of the data coming out of the syndicated data on purchases of increases in immunity type of food. vitamin D, vitamin C, zinc, seeing much more of these types of immune system boosting foods. And they're focusing also on lifestyle aspects like getting better sleep, reducing stress, trying to, and hand sanitizing and hand washing are becoming important. So consumers are getting this as folded into their regular lifestyle of looking for healthier foods, immune boosting foods, and then ways of just keeping them healthier. So if they do get COVID, they at least hopefully will not impact them too greatly.
Will these trends be reflected in ingredients and packaging?
Consumer brand companies are really looking at their labeling and ingredients and trying to say, okay, how do we make it better for people so that they will help them? Health, immunity, nutrition are all going to be important aspects that people are looking for in their food purchases. Food safety. Is the product in a food safe container? Has it been protected against any pathogens or any type of food safety issue? The last thing I want to do is have a food safety illness in a pandemic. And so how do I ensure food safety and integrity are important to me? Also, many households have extended families living with them, whether they're sons and daughters or parents and grandparents. How do I protect that family unit as well? So providing healthier, better food, more nutritious food.
We've been talking a lot about health and wellness trends, but very likely there's going to be an economic hangover next year and beyond. Will the impact be the same on all consumers?
Yes, we're really seeing a bifurcation of consumers, those with means and those without means. Those that can continue to work and work from home and be able to continue their income, and those that depend on income but may have been laid off or furloughed and don't have income. And we're seeing a rise in the number of people that are being let go or laid off due to reductions in everything from restaurants to airlines. Those people are going to have a harder time. And so we're seeing a more dramatic recessionary pressure on them versus the ones that can continue to work from home or may be able to work in essential businesses are seeing less of an impact, although still obviously scared and stressed. So for many consumer product companies, it means that you've got to look at these two classes of consumers that are quite different, but are both trying to deal with managing through the pandemic. Again, one with access to more budgets and others that are going to be very, very constrained in their budgets and their spending on food and consumer products in general.
With all these changes, what steps should retailers and their suppliers be taking when marketing in this new environment?
There are quite a few changes that are going to go on. For retailers, in many cases, it looks at the increase in click and collect and online ordering. Many retailers were getting prepared for digital retail, but many were caught off guard. And so having a more online presence, click and collect, and having the inventory systems to be able to deal with online ordering is going to be important, as well as redesigning stores. Stores may have smaller footprints, that more products are going to be ordered online. We no longer will have that open salad bar or the fresh open products, and bulk bins are also a thing of the past as people look at hygiene and sanitation as important factors. For many producers, the focus on hygiene, the focus on health are going to be important. Getting the right packaging right for the product that is transportable, as we're seeing more and more takeout food occurring as well. So all of these things are going to mean a lot of changes for both suppliers and retailers. We're also seeing a reduction in the number of stock keeping units or number of variety, as many retailers are focusing on their core brands. People are not shopping the store when they do go inside a store the same way. They're not browsing the aisles. They're not looking at all the ticket tags and aisle tags. They're going and buying rather than shopping. They're looking for a transaction. They're trying to get into the store and out of the store as quickly as they can. And they're also tending to go to the store less often. All of these are having an impact on how products are being made, merchandised, promoted, and how retailers are setting up the assortment and their planograms for the sale within the store. I don't think we've seen the end of it. I don't think we've seen all of the changes that are occurring, but we're seeing a lot of new innovation coming out as well, as companies are looking for different ways of preparing product and getting product to their consumers.
So we'll see more innovation. Well, it's encouraging to think that something positive will come out of this pandemic. Dave, thanks for joining us today.
Thanks very much. I really appreciate having the time to talk to you today. Thanks, Tim.
And thank you for watching this edition of PLMA Live. And join us next month for another exclusive interview.